This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Thursday, August 28th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Another school shooting in America, and some say enough with just thoughts and prayers.
They were in a church.
I am Clayton Neville.
The head of the CDC is out just 29 days after she took the oath of office. I'm Jeff McKay in Washington.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia wants to seek asylum in the U.S. I'm Marcela Sanchez.
Alligator Alcatraz, the controversial ICE detention facility in Florida, will likely be empty in a matter of days. I'm Julie Walker.
Stocks are coming off a winning and record-setting day, and investors are still going through and debating NVIDIA's quarterly results. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
Denmark has a bone to pick with the U.S. over Greenland, and Ben Thomas reports what's old is new again at Cracker Barrel Restaurant. All ahead on America in the Morning. A mass shooting at a Catholic school in Minneapolis is being investigated by the FBI as a potential hate crime and act of domestic terrorism. Correspondent Clayton Neville has details.
The school year just underway for students at the Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis. The entire school, grades kindergarten through 8th grade, to include more than 300 students, were inside the church when the shooter opened fire from outside through a window.
I was like 2 seats away from the stained glass windows, so they were the shots were right next to me.
Surviving students told their stories after being reunited with their parents.
The first one, I was like, what is that? I thought it was just something, then when I heard it again, I just ran under the pew, and then I covered my head. My friend Victor saved me though, because he laid on top of me, but he got hit.
Another school shooting in America, and as we've heard and seen on social media before, an outpouring of thoughts and prayers for the victims. Those gestures, though, aren't sitting well with some.
And don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. It was the first week of school. They were in a church.
Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry.
These are kids that should be learning with their friends. They should be playing on the playground. They should be able to go to school or church in peace without the fear or risk of violence, and their parents should have the same kind of assurance.
For those attending Mass and for the first responders, a horrifying scene as victims were found in the pews of the church.
2 were young children, ages 8 and 10, that were sitting in the pews at Mass when they were shot and killed.
Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara says 17 people were injured in the shooting.
14 children between the ages of 6 and 15 that were injured by gunfire. There were also 3 adults in their 80s that were parishioners here attending Mass that were also shot.
As for the shooter,
the coward that shot these victims took his own life in the rear of the church.
the 23-year-old shooter's believed to be transgender, born a man but recently identifying as a woman. The family reportedly has ties to the school, but an exact motive isn't clear yet. Police say, though, a manifesto, including a video posted online, shows weapons suspected of being used in the attack. They had messages written on them like "Kill Trump," also anti-Semitic and anti-Catholic language. President Trump ordering flags at half-staff as a city and nation mourn. The shooting in Minneapolis came after at least 3 other deadly shootings in that city in a 24-hour span, not believed to be tied to the Annunciation killings. I'm Clayton Neville.
The now former director for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention will fight her ouster just weeks after taking the job, and she was not alone in her departure. America in the Morning's Jeff McKay reports from Washington.
Susan Menares said Wednesday she will not resign just 29 days after she was confirmed and took the oath as director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. She claimed to have faced pressure to change vaccine policy. Menares was a longtime federal government scientist before President Donald Trump nominated her to lead the CDC. Lawyers for Menares released a statement saying, quote, "When CDC Director Menares refused to rubber stamp on scientific, reckless directives and fire dedicated health experts, she chose protecting the public over serving a political agenda. For that, she has been targeted," end quote. The Washington Post reports that administration officials instructed Menares to either resign or be fired. After news of Menares' ouster, 4 other high-ranking CDC officials, including the CDC's chief medical officer, announced their resignations, citing lost funding, political climate, and a broader attack on public health. The news of Menares leaving the CDC comes the same day the FDA approved new COVID-19 vaccine guidelines with new restrictions, now recommended for people over 65 and with those with underlying health conditions. I'm Jeff McKay in Washington.
The top stories of the day are sponsored by Sleep Number. It's the biggest sale of the year. All beds are on sale. Limited time only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com. Judge orders Alligator Alcatraz emptied. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Some rather rare rain for Southern California today. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
A normally dry month brings the risk for some unusual organized rain for some in parts of far Southern California today, thanks to a flow of moisture and energy pulling inland from Tropical Storm Juliet. This will mean that from the San Diego area north and east towards some of the deserts of Riverside County, some occasional steady rain is expected. Closer to the Arizona border, the risk for at least some showers will be in place, but outside of this particular area, places like Los Angeles stay dry today with some sun. A zone more likely to face the risk for potentially substantial flooding may extend from far southeastern Kansas toward the northwesternmost few counties of Arkansas, thanks to the combination of rich Gulf moisture and a disturbance already in place to help focus and organize the coverage of precipitation. Unfortunately, this disturbance will not move all that much through the day, so the result looks like it's going to be steady rain repeatedly tracking across some of the same areas and some thunderstorms embedded within that rain that will produce even more torrential rainfall. Total rain of up to 4 to 8 inches, perhaps even more, can be expected, with a much broader area of at least 1 to 2 inches of rain likely from west central Kansas to southwestern Missouri, northern Mississippi, and parts of far northeastern Texas. Other precipitation chances today first come in the form of thunder showers associated with a cold front crossing the Great Lakes toward interior parts of the northeast. Much of the Gulf Coast may end up with at least some widely separated afternoon thunderstorms, as places from Colorado to Montana and into Nevada may also have thunderstorms around later today. In Phoenix, look for sunshine today with a high reaching 104 degrees. For Tallahassee, Florida, expect some sunshine along with a spotty afternoon thunderstorm today, the high 91. That's the weather across America. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Simply search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. His deportation now on hold. Correspondent Marcela Sanchez reports Kilmar Abrego Garcia will remain in the United States until at least October following a judge's ruling on a claim of asylum.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia wants to seek asylum in the U.S. His lawyers told a federal judge about his decision. The 30-year-old has become the face of President Trump's immigration agenda after he was deported to a prison in El Salvador in March. Last Friday, Abrego Garcia was released from a jail in Tennessee and was reunited with his family.
Hoy ha sido un día muy especial porque gracias a Dios.
In Spanish, he said, "Today is a special day because thanks to God, I've returned to see my family again after more than 160 days. But on Monday, he was detained again in Baltimore by U.S. Customs and Immigration Enforcement. Administration officials have said he's part of the dangerous MS-13 gang, an allegation Abrego Garcia has denied. The Salvadoran national now faces deportation to Uganda. His lawyers are fighting this in court, arguing he has the right to express fear of persecution and torture in the African country. Abrego Garcia has told immigration authorities he would prefer to be sent to Costa Rica if he must be removed from the U.S. I'm Marcela Sanchez.
Even though nearly $200 million has been spent just to set it up, a Florida official says the Alligator Alcatraz migrant detention facility will likely be empty within days following a judge's order. Correspondent Julie Walker reports.
Alligator Alcatraz, the controversial ICE detention facility in Florida, will likely be empty in a matter of days, according to an email exchange shared with the Associated Press. In a message sent to Florida Rabbi Mario Roseman, who provides religious services there, Florida's Emergency Management Director Kevin Guthrie says, we are probably going to be down to 0 individuals within a few days. This comes as Republican Governor Ron DeSantis and the Trump administration fight a judge's order to shutter the facility by late October. Alligator Alcatraz was supposed to hold up to 3,000 detainees as part of Trump's deportation push. At one point, it held almost 1,000 detainees, but Representative Maxwell Frost, a Democrat, says he was told during a tour last week only up to 350 remain. I'm Julie Walker.
When we return, the wealthiest company on Wall Street releases its quarterly earning when America in the Morning continues after these messages. CNBC's Jessica Ettinger has Thursday business.
Wall Street opens this morning after a winning day for the major averages, and the S&P 500 index hit a fresh record high yesterday. Investors today digesting quarterly results from chipmaker NVIDIA. It reported better than expected quarterly numbers, both earnings and revenue, after the closing bell last night, but data center revenue might have missed estimates a little bit, and shares were bouncing up and down in after-hours trading. Some investors say you just have to keep the big picture in focus with NVIDIA. Here's the Gabelli Fund's John Belton on CNBC.
I think NVIDIA's got a big lead, a big head start on all competition, particularly China. I think the most formidable Chinese semiconductor design competitors are still years behind NVIDIA. But if the U.S. decides to clamp down and restrict China, which it doesn't seem like they're doing anymore, there are workarounds. And I think, in an environment where Chinese companies are restricted from getting NVIDIA, Huawei can be a decent alternative. So that's why I think the U.S. administration is smart to allow NVIDIA to participate in China. I think we're better off if Chinese AI is built on a U.S. company's products.
NVIDIA shares are watched like a hawk by many Americans, and here's why.
It's 8% of the S&P 500, so it can swing the index almost no matter what happens.
CNBC's Mike Santoli. Millions of Americans have an S&P 500 index fund in a brokerage or retirement account. Also, after the closing bell last night, CrowdStrike reported better than expected quarterly results. Snowflake's earnings beat expectations. MongoDB shares surged on a big beat in its quarterly results. Gold is back up, very close to its record high of $3,534 an ounce. Market talk, all about the Taylor Swift-Travis Kelce engagement, which may have moved the shares of Ralph Lauren. Here's CNBC's Carl Quintanilla.
The analysts at Jefferies note that both Swift and Kelce were wearing Lauren outfits during their proposal. The firm notes that Google Trends data in recent hours shows a significant spike in search interest for Lauren dresses and Taylor Swift Ralph Lauren. Meantime, CNBC.com pointing out this pop in shares a signet after Swift's diamond appeared to be a cushion-cut design. Wolf Research making a Swift mention in its metals note, writing, "We're not sure what precious metal Travis used for the engagement ring, but is there a prettier chart than silver?"
On today's watch list, we get a load of earnings reports. Best Buy, Bath & Body Works, Jack Daniels maker Brown-Forman, Burlington Stores, Dick's Sporting Goods, Affirm, and Ulta Beauty. We find out how many people applied for unemployment benefits last week. Pop Mart's new mini Labubu keychains go on sale at 10 p.m. Eastern tonight on the Pop Mart website.
Thank you. There's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, Greenland cries foul over U.S. interest after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. Officials in Denmark are demanding answers from the Trump administration after a report that Americans have carried out what the Danish government describes as influence operations in Greenland. Correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports.
Denmark's foreign minister had the top US diplomat in the country summoned for talks after the main national broadcaster reported on Wednesday that at least 3 people with connections to President Donald Trump have been carrying out covert influence operations in Greenland. Greenland, a huge semi-autonomous Danish territory in the Arctic, is coveted by Trump. Denmark and Greenland have said the island is not for sale and condemned reports of the US gathering intelligence there. On Wednesday, public broadcaster DR reported that government and security sources believe that at least 3 Americans with connections to the president have been carrying out covert influence operations in the country. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
It's out with the new and back with the old. Correspondent Ben Thomas reports that following scorn, including from President Trump, Cracker Barrel Restaurant is bringing back its discarded logo.
Lots of companies go through rebranding, but for some loyal customers...
My first thought was, why? I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Well, I don't like the changes. I mean, it's always been Cracker Barrel like it is, so I'd like for it to stay like it is.
Sid and Doris leased Cracker Barrel customers in Vicksburg, Mississippi, reacting to the new, sleeker corporate logo. But Doris says,
we love the sign, we love the little man on the sign, we love the Cracker Barrel.
All on the old logo, along with the words Old Country Store.
To whoever's doing this, please leave it alone.
Well, corporate leaders heard Doris and Sid and many other fans, and perhaps President Trump too, who said Cracker Barrel should just admit the mistake. So the old logo is back.
We really like it just like it is.
I'm Ben Thomas.
America in the Morning for Thursday, August 28th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
Minneapolis police say a shooting at a Catholic school has left 3 dead, including the shooter. I'm Haya Panjwani.
One of the nation's busiest and most famous train stations is now under new management. President Trump. I'm Richard Johnson.
Evacuation orders and warnings for several wildfires raging in western states. I'm Julie Walker.
President Trump seemingly going after George Soros. I'm Clayton Neville.
A D.C. man who hurled a sandwich at a federal agent just caught a break. I'm Sue Aller.
U.S. government's Intel investment makes strange bedfellows. I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
Another cast member is out at Saturday Night Live. I'm Ed Donahue.
Back after these messages. Moving toward the all-important Labor Day weekend. Here's today's forecast on America in the Morning from AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
As plentiful Gulf moisture continues to pour into the plains with a storm also in place over Texas and Oklahoma, the setup will be rather favorable for heavy rain and thunderstorms to develop today from southeastern Kansas into northern Mississippi. A particularly concerning facet of this setup is that a narrow corridor within this zone is likely to end up with either very heavy, steady rain for much of the day or multiple embedded thunderstorms that will lead to localized higher rainfall rates. Counting back from the start of this extended event on Wednesday afternoon, total rainfall through Friday morning is expected to reach at least 1 to 2 inches from central Kansas to northern Louisiana and the northern half or so of Mississippi. However, that aforementioned narrow band with the potential for 4 to 8 inches of rain and locally higher amounts currently looks to set up from the Fayetteville, Arkansas area north and west toward areas in Kansas to the east of Wichita. Other than that, the potential for significant rainfall is generally rather limited for today. Some rare August rain will arrive in far southern California in relation to moisture from Tropical Storm Juliet, giving cities such as San Diego that average just 1/100th of an inch of rain during the month an opportunity for a 1/4 inch of rain today, perhaps some highly localized amounts even higher than that. Much of Florida also faces the risk for afternoon thunderstorms. They may have more moisture to ring out as well, with much of the Gulf Coast not exactly guaranteed to have a dry day. Showers and some storms dot the area from the Idaho-Montana border through much of Wyoming, northern Nevada and Utah, and especially around central Colorado. Thunder showers follow a cold front through Illinois and into the interior northeast as a beautiful Thursday plays out along the I-95 corridor. That's the weather across America. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Simply search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. A shooter opens fire during a morning mass at a Minneapolis Catholic school, killing 2. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports on what police have learned about the transgender 23-year-old who reports say had a manifesto and the words "Kill Trump" scrawled on a gun magazine.
The sheer cruelty and cowardice of firing into a church full of children is absolutely incomprehensible.
Minneapolis police say a shooting at a Catholic school has left 3 dead, including the shooter. The shooter opened fire with a rifle through the windows of a Catholic church in Minneapolis and struck children celebrating Mass during the first week of school.
We're also aware of a manifesto that the shooter had timed to be released on YouTube. This manifesto appeared to show him at the scene and included some disturbing writings. That content has since been taken down with the assistance of the FBI, and it now remains under active review by our investigators.
He killed 2 children, ages 8 and 14, and wounded 17 before killing himself. Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara identified the shooter.
The coward that shot these victims took his own life in the rear of the church. That coward has been identified as 23-year-old Robin Westman. No prior criminal history. As to the weapons used to perpetrate this horrific attack, there was a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol. All 3 had been lawfully purchased by the shooter.
FBI Director Kash Patel said that the shooting is being investigated as an act of domestic terrorism and a hate crime targeting Catholics.
Minnesotans will not step away. We'll stand with this community. We'll redouble ourselves to do the best we can to understand what we can do to prevent any parent from having to receive the calls they received today, from any school dedicated to children.
Governor Tim Walz called the shooting unthinkable.
So I ask the rest of the folks around the country who are watching, keep us in your thoughts and prayers, but also keep us in the thoughts for action. Keep us in the ideas that we can work together.
I'm Haya Panjwani.
Detractors may call it a power grab, but the mayor of Washington, D.C. says she is all for the Trump administration's takeover of D.C.'s iconic passenger rail hub Union Station. Details from correspondent Rich Johnson.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy made the announcement that his department, which owns Union Station, will take over the management from Amtrak. And he made it clear why President Trump ordered the move.
He wants Union Station to be beautiful again. He wants transit to be safe again, and he wants our nation's capital to be great again. And today is part of that.
Duffy spoke at a ceremony to show off the new generation of trains that will serve the country's busiest rail corridor between Washington and Boston. Also at the ceremony, Amtrak President Roger Harris, who said he's okay with the move.
I don't think there's any sort of misunderstanding of what the roles are here. I think that, there's a certain realignment, absolutely, but we're up for it, and we're going to make sure that this is the best Union Station it can be.
Harris's comment courtesy of WRC-TV. Union Station is a massive marble 118-year-old building that's a hub for Amtrak, regional commuter trains going to Maryland and Virginia, and the D.C. region's Metro subway. It's been plagued by not-so-attentive maintenance, and a lot of shops and restaurants closed when train and subway ridership plummeted during COVID. One person who's been blasting the president's placement of National Guard troops around D.C. has been Mayor Muriel Bowser. But on this move,
if it's about what Union Station needs for its total transformation, that would be an amazing initiative for the federal government to take on.
I'm Rich Johnson.
Firefighters have their hands full with several western blazes scorching acres in California and Oregon. Correspondent Julie Walker provides the latest details.
Evacuation orders and warnings for several wildfires raging in western states as firefighters continue battling those blazes. In central Oregon, the flat fire threatening homes.
We've got 9 task forces during the day and 4 at night, so we're spread pretty thin for the amount of structures that we have. So we're really concentrating on the structures that have the most heat around it.
Captain Steve Chapman.
We're out there really hammering down on those smokes, and with the weather today, it's going to really test us. It's going to really pop those smokes up for us so that we can get those ones that have been hiding on us for the last few days.
Among the evacuations, actor Rainn Wilson from The Office Posting on social media, he and his family had to flee their cabin near the town of Sisters.
This is our fourth evacuation over the last 6 years. As you know, the last time we evacuated, we lost about half of our house in the fires that tore through the Los Angeles area late last year.
Last year, their California home was damaged by wildfire. Meanwhile, California's picket fire continues to burn over 6,000 acres near Napa Valley wine country.
Firefighters are going into very rugged terrain, and they're either putting in a new containment line. Sometimes they're having to improve maybe an existing containment line, and then also firefighters are having to hike in and go and put what we call hot spots out.
Public Information Officer Charles Kuniyashi.
All efforts are being put in to contain this fire as quickly as possible. We've increased containment. The smoke has been moving in the right direction as far as reduction.
He says weather has been favorable in getting in those containment lines. It's also helping the Garnet fire, churning through the Sierra National Forest in Fresno County, where more than 9,000 acres have burned. I'm Julie Walker.
When we return on America in the Morning, Trump goes after Soros after these messages. You're with America in the Morning. President Trump is suggesting criminal charges should be filed against Democrat mega-donor George Soros and his son. More on the story from Correspondent Clayton Neville.
In a post on Truth Social, President Trump went after George Soros and his, quote, wonderful radical left son because of what Trump called their support to violent protests throughout the U.S. The president added, quote, be careful, we're watching you. In response to that post, the Open Society Foundations, which is the nonprofit funded by the Soros family, called the comments outrageous threats. The back and forth comes as a number of one-time allies for President Trump face legal challenges. The president recently said that he was firing Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook over allegations of mortgage fraud. He's also accused former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, who was close to Trump for a while, of lying about the 2013 Bridgegate scandal. I'm Clayton Neville.
Federal prosecutors Wednesday were unable to persuade a grand jury to approve a felony indictment against a man who threw a sandwich at a federal agent on the streets of Washington. Sue Aller files this report.
No charges against Sean Dunn, a former Justice Department paralegal who was arrested after throwing a sandwich at a Customs and Border Protection agent during a heated moment earlier this month. Former judge and TV host Jeanine Pirro released a video condemning Dunn's actions.
Well, he doesn't think it's funny today because we charged him with a felony, assault on a police officer, and we're going to back the police to the hilt. So there, stick your Subway sandwich somewhere else.
But prosecutors failed to convince a grand jury to indict Dunn. The August 13th incident was caught on video, showing Dunn shouting at officers, calling them fascists, and yelling, "I don't want you in my city," before throwing the sandwich. He admitted to police, quote, "I did it. I threw the sandwich." Dunn was quickly fired from his Justice Department job after the video went viral. Critics say it highlights frustration with President Trump's federal takeover of the city, which has brought in the National Guard and federal agents to fight crime. For now, Dunn is free, though lesser charges may still be pursued. President Trump has not yet commented directly on this case. I'm Sue Aller.
Some FEMA employees have been put on leave. Correspondent Mike Hempen reports.
Documents show some Federal Emergency Management Agency employees who signed a dissent letter earlier this week are now on administrative leave. More than 180 current and former FEMA employees signed the letter on Monday, critiquing recent cuts to agency staff and programs and warning that FEMA's capacity to respond to major disasters is dangerously diminished. The letter was sent to the FEMA Review Council in Congress. 35 employees signed their names, while 141 signed anonymously. The The Associated Press has confirmed that at least 2 employees received notices Tuesday evening, informing them they would be placed on leave indefinitely with pay. It's unclear what the status is for the other employees. The notice said the leave is not a disciplinary action and is not intended to be punitive. I'm Mike Hempen.
A nonverbal New Orleans boy who disappeared earlier this month was found dead and appears to have died from an alligator attack. New Orleans police say 12-year-old Brian Vasquez drowned after suffering blunt force trauma from an alligator. His body found in a lagoon in a New Orleans neighborhood. An investigation as to how the boy, who was last seen only wearing an adult diaper, went missing is still being investigated. New details are emerging into Intel's deal with the U.S. government to hand over 10% of their company, which included an offer they can't refuse from President Trump. Chuck Palm has details in today's Tech Report.
Intel CEO Lip Bhutan was called out to the carpet in the White House. What started out as a drubbing for Intel could turn into one of the most lucrative deals for the American chip maker. It all started with President Trump blasting Intel on Truth Social, calling out the chip giant's struggles amid global competition. Other chip companies like Nvidia had already made a deal and were not posting as many losses in revenue and employees as Intel over the past year. Tan was hustled into the White House for a tense meeting and left with a plan that could turn the tide. Intel ended up pledging billions in U.S. manufacturing and snagging a few government perks to help boost chip production stateside. It culminated with the U.S. government taking a 10% non-voting share of Intel. Tan said to the Wall Street Journal, "This is about reshoring critical tech and dodging tariffs while securing America's edge in technology." Find me on X at Chuck Palm.
Here's Thursday Sports with America in the Morning's Robert Workman.
A whole lot of long balls yesterday in the big leagues. The Yankees hit 6 home runs en route to an 11-2 thrashing of the Nationals. Aaron Judge hit number 41.
But you could tell from each guy stepping up to the box, the guys on deck, to even if you took a peek in the dugout, guys were locked in there on the top step. So I think that's what really helped us, not think about how many runs we scored or what just happened.
Rangers rang the bell 4 times in their 20-3 romp over the Angels. 3 of them were 3-run shots. Adolis Garcia, Jock Peterson, and Kyle Higashioka each drove in 5. Braves grilled the Marlins 12-1, jerked some profar with 2 of their 5 dingers. Royals whipped the White Sox 12-1, pounding out 16 hits, including 2 homers. Rafael Devers hit 2 of the Giants' 4 taters as they stomped the Cubs 12-3. Blue Jays trimmed the Twins 9-8. Each side hit 4 home runs. But there was some good pitching on display as well. Nolan McLean went 8 strong innings as the Mets shut out the Phillies 6-0. He becomes the first Met ever to win his first 3 big league starts. Not Tom Seaver, Nolan Ryan, Dwight Gooden, none of them. Framber Valdez and friends tossed a 4-hitter as the Astros blanked the Rockies 4-0. The A's throttled the Tigers 7-0. Luis Morales and 2 relievers allowed just 2 hits. Guardians shaded the Rays 4-3 in 10 innings. Wins for the Diamondbacks, Dodgers, Red Sox, Mariners, and Pirates. NFL opening night is 1 week from tonight when the Cowboys visit the Super Bowl champion Eagles. After the Week 0 appetizer, college football Week 1 digs in tonight with 17 games, including number 25 Boise State at South Florida. Every team in the top 25 is scheduled to play sometime between now and Monday night. That's Thursday Sports.
51 years for Saturday Night Live, when America in the Morning continues after these messages. The wife of actor Bruce Willis has given an update on his health. Details from entertainment reporter Kevin Carr.
3 years after Bruce Willis retired from acting for health reasons, his wife Emma is offering a candid update on how he's doing. On Tuesday, Diane Sawyer interviewed Emma for the special Emma and Bruce Willis, The Unexpected Journey on ABC. The special examined the 70-year-old actor's diagnosis of frontotemporal dementia, which affects speech, behavior, and personality. Emma explained her husband is doing relatively well.
Bruce is in really great health overall.
It's just his brain that is failing him.
The biggest impact has been Bruce's impaired ability to communicate.
Yeah, the language is going. And, we've learned to adapt, and we have a way of communicating with him, which is just a different way.
One of Emma's most important messages during the special is the challenges of being a caregiver. Eventually, their family made the decision to build a second home where Bruce can be safe with his 24-hour caregiving team.
It was one of the hardest decisions that I've had to make so far. But I knew, first and foremost, Bruce would want that.
Even though Bruce is impaired, Emma and their 2 daughters, along with the blended family of Demi Moore and her 3 daughters with Bruce, still interact in a loving manner.
When we are with him, he lights up, right? He's holding our hands, we're kissing him, we're hugging him. He is reciprocating.
The full interview is available on Disney Plus and Hulu. I'm Kevin Carr.
After Lorne Michaels says he plans on shaking up the Saturday Night Live lineup for season 51, several cast members have announced they will not be returning to the sketch comedy show. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports on who's staying and who's going at Saturday Night Live.
Another cast member is out at Saturday Night Live. Emil Joaquin says he is not returning and indicated he was let go. Joaquin called it a gut punch of a call to get. He was a featured player on SNL. A few days ago, Devin Walker said he was leaving, writing on Instagram, "Me and the show did 3 years together and sometimes it was really cool." He also wrote, "Sometimes it was toxic as hell. But we did what we made the most of what it was, even amidst all the dysfunction." A note on the post wrote, "Wait, did he quit or did he get fired? This may not be the end of the SNL goodbyes." Executive producer Lorne Michaels says he anticipates changes going into season 51. In an interview with Puck, Michaels answered yes when asked if he expects to shake things up. I'm Ed Donahue.
Season 51 of Saturday Night Live will debut on NBC October 4th. The host and musical guests have yet to be announced. America in the Morning for Thursday, August 28th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.